start with recording, so I'll just say good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, wherever you are. I'm Ivan Ramirez, attorney licensed in Texas, and today we have attorney Alexis Gonzalez. He's licensed in the state of Florida, and today we're going to talk about real estate issues and dealing with international clients. So, Alexis, how are you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you, Ivan.
Excellent.
And hope everybody who's listening to this is doing well. We have a good topic here today, I think, for a big issue that you and I deal with a lot, which is with foreigners who are buying real estate. So it's a topic I think that interests a lot of realtors, brokers, and obviously foreigners um, who do a lot of investments over here in the United States.
So, what are some of the biggest issues that you see when working with international clients, Alexis? And by international, I mean non-U.S. residents. What are some of the big issues you see when they have real estate in the U.S.?
Ivan, the two biggest things that we end up running across in real estate are going to be dealing with Firpta issues, and the second one is the estate tax when the foreigner dies.
Okay, Alexis, tell us what is FERPTA?
FIRPTA is the Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act, and basically what it puts a requirement on the buyer of a real property to withhold a certain percentage of the money from the sale to and send it to the IRS when the seller is a foreigner.
Okay.
All right. So this is an issue that we run into a lot. Obviously, a foreign seller does not like to run into this issue. It takes a long time for them to get their money back, and it's usually like most cases you're withholding 15%. So it's a big chunk of the seller's proceeds. Um, One of the things, especially with Firpta, that there is a pretty easy fix, I think,
Exactly.
to that situation. If people plan ahead of time, or even after the fact, you still can, I think, um, prior to selling the property, you still can, fix the issue. But like everything you and I talked about, it's always better to do things early on, so you could plan
Exactly.
and do the best planning that for taxes, liability, and obviously your estate.
So,
Um,
just to back up for a little bit, like, is this a federal tax or is it a Florida state tax?
this
Just
is the it's a federal tax that the IRS makes the buyer. It's a responsibility of the buyer to make sure that that money is being withheld,
okay.
and then yeah, and the seller, some of the issues sellers can prepare prior to the closing by getting by filing all the tax documents needed so that they could get an actual opinion from the IRS or an actual confirmation. This is what you're going to owe, right?
Okay.
And then that can be um, that number would go, in the closing statement, and you're not having excess money. The majority of people do not plan that far ahead when it
Yeah,
comes to a closing.
exactly.
So, the best thing obviously is finding, the right entity with the right tax structure that the IRS, the law tells you, hey, you do not need to do any withholding in that situation,
Exactly.
right? And basically, it comes down to two. It's either a partnership structure, an LLC tax as a partnership, or the other variations, or C corp,
Okay.
and
So,
those are the. Mhm.
so if your client comes to you and say, "Hey, Alexis, I'm getting ready to sell my property, and I want to avoid legally this FERPTA tax withholding." So there's a couple of solutions that you've worked with your clients to avoid this 15% FERPTA tax withholding. So that's what you're proposing here, yes?
Exactly.
Okay.
Correct.
Can you give me an example of one that you've done recently? How you did this planning before the sale and it saved that 15% withholding.
And well, this is a closing that I'm doing now that I'm acting as title agent, where the seller is a foreigner. He is structured in that way. Um, the like what is typical. I didn't represent this client, but it's just the example of this. They don't have their paperwork in order. So for me as a title agent and representing as well as I'm representing the buyer, you got to be very careful, and you got to make sure that there is proof when you find out that there's a single member LLC. Like that's already a red flag. The minute you know that, we have a duty and a responsibility to inquire more about that structure. Um, if They are supposedly, from what I have here, they're taxed that way. The CPA has confirmed it. They sent me over, a filing, some of the filings that they've done with the 1120 form, and that's sufficient. That they're, as long as that LLC is taxed as a C corp, I don't have to do the withholding.
Okay,
The
so
major-
the seller is a non-US resident, but the real estate is titled under an LLC taxed as a C corp.
as a C corp, and that's sufficient, right? Because you have the C
Okay.
corp taxation, and that's all the IRS asks of you, because there's a return that's going to be filed on behalf of that company, um, uh, prior to the owner getting his money and all that. So that's all
So
that's required.
perfect. So that
Uh,
avoids the 15% for
that avoids the
withholding.
15%. Uh,
Excellent.
but you should have things in order to
Mhm.
prove and to be able to because to all the parties involved, to make sure that, hey, yes, I have everything in order, I have the IRS confirmations and all that, because it does make it a messy situation when I have something like this where their records are not in order, and I'm having to get opinions from other people and having other people write letters confirming, but we don't have actual proof from the IRS.
Perfect. Perfect. So
And that happens a lot of times. Most people, unfortunately, don't even have that.
perfect. So that's one example of a case you worked on
That's one.
recently where
That's one example.
the international client legally avoided the Firpta withholding because the seller was an LLC that they owned, and the LLC was taxed as
It's
a C
taxed as a C
corporation.
corp, and that's all you need. It's that simple. That was a good summary, I think, of the topic. And the next step is just you know to have realtors let their clients know, brokers to let their clients know, and anyone who sees this, so they could reach out to us. Right? It's easy.
Absolutely. So right after, you'll see in the next slide all of our contact information, and please feel free to reach out. We're here to help.
Yeah, 100%. That's what we do.
Well, thank you very much for listening in today. Thank you, Alexis, for your time,
Thank you, Ivan.
and we'll see you on the next segment.